Welcome to day 3. I made it to almost 72 hours on the afternoon of the third day. When I got up this morning, I did my Qigong and I weighed myself, and I'm down another 2.1 pounds today. Yesterday I had lost 6.8 pounds. So the total for both weigh-ins, the first day when I weighed in, I hadn't lost any weight yet because that was my starting point. So now I've had 2 weigh-ins, and that's a total of 8.9 pounds in 2 days. So that's pretty cool. Being down almost 10 pounds in 2 days is pretty encouraging. And there's still, we're only on day 3. On day 21, that's going to be even more dramatic. So that is certainly fun. It's encouraging. And to feel good while you're doing that is amazing. Today I'm going to quickly cover how I'm feeling, because there are some important changes that I want to describe to you. And then we're going to talk about the emotions in your body and how that affects your eating. And I'm also going to do the next little mini Qigong lesson. So on the blog, I've documented my daily schedule. You can see the exact amounts of Qigong that I'm doing. You can see some other things. Throughout my day, I just give a log of, for this window of time, I was doing this, and for this window of time, I was doing that. My schedule actually changes today because I'm going to be working overnight. 2 nights a week, I do security overnight. These are 12-hour shifts. So I make my rounds, and then I come back to the office, and I'm able to create some blog posts. So I'm working on this stuff all night. I'm also going out every 45 minutes to an hour and patrolling this area. So what I do is I still got up this morning early, 4:30 a.m., and then late in the morning, around 10 or 11 o'clock, I usually go back to sleep, and then I wake up in the mid-afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it's like I restart my day. So then it's like I turn the morning into the afternoon, I stay up all night, and I'm on a different schedule. You can read more about that on the blog. So what's happening with my body? Day 3 is pretty interesting. I actually feel like I'm a day ahead of my normal pattern. I usually start to experience this like tomorrow, but today I'm actually starting to feel a few things differently. So one is the bandwidth of perception has increased. So what do I mean by that? Well, I've got more energy, but I'm also noticing things. Well, it's kind of hard to explain. So there's more energy overall, but it's mellower. It's not like when you take caffeine or an energy drink where you just feel like ramped up and revved up. You do have a sense of increased capacity, but also the bandwidth is higher. So you may only notice a certain level of what's going on around you, but right now it's increased. It's very hard to describe. So if you look at your field of vision, you could just relate it to maybe you only see out to here. You know, you're paying attention more to the center of your vision, and you don't notice what's happening on the peripheral as much. But my peripheral vision has widened. So I'm noticing more of what's going on in front of me. My senses are more sensitive. So smells smell stronger. My hearing has improved, where things sound louder. I'm actually hearing finer nuances of what's going on there. I'm smelling more. I'm noticing, different shades of colors. It's just a bit of a subtle transition today. It's not as extreme. This is going to deepen. My perception of chi energy is also increased. So when I do a meditation, the meditations are stronger. When I start to do the Qigong, I'm feeling the chi flow more now that I've gotten some more food out of my system. Physically, I'm actually still feeling a bit of the congestion because I was eating kind of a lot of junk over the past few days prior to this fast. So while I could feel some congestion on days 1 and 2, it was more of like a solid congestion in my throat, a little bit of mucus that had built up. Not that uncomfortable, pretty bearable, but today it's really loosened up and it's starting to break up and dissipate. So I have that awareness. But overall, more energy, less tiredness. I feel like with eating that extra food, there was kind of an overlaid drowsiness where I was still aware of what was going on, but it was just like a mild curtain. Not a very heavy one, but just kind of a mild dampener on my experience. And now I just feel clearer, but I'm also mellower, like the intensity is lower. Like as I'm walking, I used to have like a little bit of a, I'm walking around and I'm feeling kind of like I'm forcing it, I'm pushing myself. Now as I walk, it's more of a glide. So that's an interesting feeling. And I can also feel the beginning. When I first started fasting, it took me a little while to understand this feeling, where at first I might have thought it was a nervous feeling, because you can kind of feel a buzzing in your body. And what this is ketosis coming on. So the body has, I feel like I'm turning the corner. I feel the difference of the body went from burning glucose and sugars, and now that it's depleted all the glucose in my body, I'm feeling the transition to fat burning mode. So it's, right now I'm interpreting that as kind of like a happy, excited buzzing. Like I feel, I'm just exaggerating, it's like in my fat cells, especially in my stomach and in my thighs, basically where I have extra fat in my love handles here, I'm feeling just this tiny little, I'm exaggerating so you can see it, just this tiny little buzzing, and it's a happy vibration. It's an excitement. And when I first started experiencing this, did it feel nervous? Did it feel exciting? It's a different feeling. So originally, you could interpret this as maybe a slightly nervous feeling because you're not used to it. Nervous and excitement, these are dancing around the same type of feeling, and it's hard to describe in words. As I've gotten more comfortable with it, as I've gotten more used to it, I actually like this feeling now. And it's just like a happy little buzz of energy that's like, it's buzzing, because what's happened is your fat cells are burning, they're turning into energy. So you kind of feel this different feeling of energy coming out. And the fat burning meditation, I've experimented with this where I've done the fat burning meditation or not, and it's a different feeling. I believe that this is really ramping up the ketosis. I've also used ketosis test strips and gone into it much faster doing the fat burning meditation. So I'm going to continue doing that fat burning meditation because I believe that that makes a huge difference. You're getting into your subconscious mind and burning fat. Now the interesting thing about practicing Qigong is what you're doing with Qigong is you're creating an awareness of your body that without practicing Qigong, or unless you do some intense yoga, most people don't have this intense awareness of our bodies. We try to separate ourselves from our bodies, and we mentally engage in life, and we're not thinking about our body. In the Qigong practice, just by doing it, it helps you to connect with the body where you start to pay attention to what's going on. And now I'm going to shift to talk about emotions. So we have these different areas in our body. So we talked about in the past 2 days, I mentioned it in both videos, the dantian is where energy is stored. So let's think about when you eat food. You eat food and it goes down, it enters your stomach about here, in the small intestines, it gets processed, and it goes down. And if you look where your dantian is, your intestines are going all around this area. So it's taking the chi energy out of your food, and it's converting it into energy it can use, and it's energetically storing that in the dantian, and then you have access to that energy, and then it gets rid of it, passes through the body. Now let's look at what happens with emotions, and there's some interesting things going on here. So if you look in this area, a lot of our negative emotions are stored in the solar plexus. It's this area kind of in the middle of the heart and the dantian, right in the middle. This is also where the small intestine is. So we have these fear, guttural, instinctive emotions that are triggered, and we feel them in this area. We also have behind there is our lungs. lungs are where anxiety is felt. And so you have your lungs right behind your small intestine, and this is where the food first enters. Now, the early Christians would actually call this area the seat of Satan. Okay, so that sounds scary, but there's something deep here, where the temptation to overeat, and you feel like there's this power here sometimes that where your cravings are making you eat, and you feel in less control of it. They called it the seat of Satan because there's a weird temptation that happens there. But looking at this area, it's where you feel a lot of your negative emotions. Now, those negative emotions come from just beliefs that you have and habits that you have. So if you start to act differently or do something that's not in accordance with your established habits, and these are just things that you're used to doing, or beliefs, if strong beliefs that you've had over a long period of time start to be broken, and reality's not matching what you believe it should be, you have negative emotions. They really derive from your habits and beliefs. So when those start to not match what normally is happening in your life, you have these negative emotions. And a lot of the negative emotions we feel are centered. If you pay attention to your body, you'll start to see this, that you feel them in this area. So there's a combination of things that happen. We've got this area where we feel our negative emotions. We get in our lungs right behind it. Really, all of this is happening in a close area within the center of our bodies. And we have these anxieties, these different types of negative emotions that happen here. And it's really close to where we have food going through there. We're taking our chi energy out of this food. We're storing it right below there. I mean, there's only a few inches separating the solar plexus and the dantian. Like, these are very close together. So our food is getting processed here. And what happens on a physical level, so we have these emotional level experiences that connect with the body in this area. And I mean, our heart has the love, peace, joy emotions, and then the negative sides of those as well. So your physical body and your emotional body, this stuff's all happening in here. And if we're not paying close attention, what will happen is if we eat a bunch of food, we eat something that tastes really good or is satisfying, it's got a lot of sugar, these are called comfort food. And what will happen is when you eat the food, it goes into this smaller intestine area, and eating a lot of food, there's pleasure associated with it. What it does is it dulls those emotions temporarily, because that sensation of eating something is more powerful temporarily. When you first eat, that feeling kind of overrides and suppresses those emotions. So this is why a lot of people do this. You're numbing that emotion. Most people aren't aware of it. And that feeling is just temporarily more powerful. So it distracts you from the emotional feeling you're having. It doesn't eliminate it. It doesn't get rid of it. It just sort of puts that into the background, because now you have this new feeling of food went in, and now I'm physically dealing with the feeling of, you're feeling that food moving through you. And the sugars are, some initial sugars are released, so you're burning some of that initial energy, and you have this temporary boost. That's all good, and there's nothing wrong with that, other than if we're not conscious and we do this to suppress those emotions, then we can run into problems with gaining weight. And they've also found that there's actually brain cells in your intestines. So if you feel like, well, my stomach has a mind of its own, it's kind of making me eat. And I've had that feeling where it just wants to feed itself. It just wants to consume. Well, the practice of Qigong, and doing this Qigong for weight loss practice that I'm doing every day in this case study, will actually kind of pull back the illusion that you can't control that. It will, some of this is hard to describe, but it will actually show you how to start dealing with that. You'll see it for what it is, and then you'll start to notice when you eat, it's not actually masking that emotion. And then you'll notice there's an actual negative consequence of eating, where you might feel like, wow, that didn't really cure the problem, it's making it worse. you'll start to notice this, and we've just been unconscious of that process. So awareness is step one. Just being aware that that is a process that most people are unaware of. That's the first step to shining the light. I mean, once you're aware of it, it's a whole new ballgame. And if you're hearing this for the first time, then initial awareness is all you need. As you practice Qigong, you're going to start to notice this more and more deeply. And as you notice it, its power over you diminishes, and you can start to control this easily. It's just a subtle change where you start to see what's happening, and then you say, okay, body, I'm not going to fall for that. I understand what's happening. And the other beauty of this is the Qigong practice itself actually works with your emotions to free them. So you're not just observing this negative emotion or this unpleasant emotion that you can't control. The Qigong practice itself is actually unblocking that energy and helping you. So this works on the physical level. It's physical exercise. It works on the emotional energy, freeing emotional energy and blockages. It works on many levels. So that's why it's really great, and why I'm here talking about Qigong and doing this whole project. So now, yesterday we worked on the standing posture of Qigong. Now if you take that and you sit down, keeping the same posture, we have the sitting posture. So I'm going to grab a chair, and I'll be back in a moment with a sitting posture demonstration. Okay, so now I'm back in the sitting posture, and the first step, call this the sitting upright posture. The first step is to get on the edge of your chair. Let me go sideways here to demonstrate. So sitting on the edge of your chair, back straight, and you do all the same stuff. Tuck your stomach in, lower back in towards the center of your spine. Your feet bent at 90 degrees, feet flat on the floor, knees bent 90 degrees. And then tuck your chin in, lift the top of your head up, straighten your spine as straight as you can, and working with the lower back. And placing your hands on your knees, comfortably straight. And then move over here. So sitting on the edge of your seat, so you're not leaning on the back of the chair. Back straight. Head straight. Hands on the knees. Arms comfortably straight. And then let your shoulders rest so they're open and down. Shoulder, armpits slightly open. And just relax. You can sit in this posture for a few minutes at a time. Start practicing. 5 minutes a day is good. 10 minutes a day is very good. 15 minutes a day is excellent. You can do this several times a day or just once a day. Just try it. So you stand here, sit here, close your eyes, and feel that posture. Smiling inwardly, smile on your face, smiling into your brain. So you can do the sitting posture, or if I were standing, you're just standing with your arms at your side, sitting like this. You can also do a variation of this when you're sitting cross-legged on the floor. This posture is useful for a lot of meditations, and you'll see it in a lot of the Awaken Qi stuff that we're working on. So what's your experience with this? Have you tried any Qigong yet? I'd love to hear the comments. Things are going really well. I'm excited to be doing this, but I'm really doing this to connect with you. Let me know what you're experiencing. I read all the comments. I'd love to hear what you're going through, and what else would you like to know about what's happening in this case study? Well, Hala, and I'll see you in the next video.